Hello everybody, welcome back. Right, let's get having a look at some traditional stuff. So we're going to have a look at the S&P. I know this you're like what? S&P? But yeah, I suppose there's just one thing I just wanted to start off with before we looked at Bitcoin on the short-term time frames. So we are going to look at short-term time frames. And also, if you want to join the Patreon, links in the description below for that. I'm going to reduce the price just for 1 month only, starting from tomorrow. Right, so the thing about the S&P, and this is the US 500, is the futures market. We've got various sort of drives of bearish divergence on the weekly, which might mean that I suppose maybe next month we revisit the centre of the Bollinger Band on the weekly. That wouldn't be unusual. You might even see a bigger drop down to the 50 exponential, which I'm not going to say that's definitely going to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a 3% drop on the weekly here, given the 1, 2, 3 drives on this one before we move back up. So normally what happens, the S&P goes down 3%, you'll see Bitcoin go down 5, 6%, you'll see altcoins go down 10, 12%, that sort of thing. So we might be looking at something like that before we continue up throughout November. Now, obviously, we've got elections and stuff. Where, events like that are just, I won't say they're non-events, but you can't really predict what's going to happen in either direction. It's just going to be one of those events. So just. It will move. It will be rocky. It might go straight up. It might go straight down, or it might go up and then down. It could do anything. But the general trend is what you'd look at from a technical perspective. I know some people sit there listening to Bloomberg and trade off every word of every old man that speaks, but that's kind of crazy. That is like gambling. That's just madness. But for me, it's all about focusing on the trend, and the trend is strong for S&P, but it does mean that there is a chance that we do move down to retest the 20 or the 21 on the weekly before we go back up. So that might mean a 5 to 6 on Bitcoin. But if we're looking at Bitcoin on short term, it's kind of still consolidating on the 4 hourly around that 10 exponential. This is what we were talking about on the Patreon. So, looking to go long, tried a few longs here. If I had kept them on, which I didn't, they'd still be up in a minuscule amount. But because we've not had a significant bounce from here, it probably means that we either try again on the 10 exponential, which is around 72,000, or we drop it into this on the 4 hourly around 71,200. The reason it hasn't gone straight up, in my opinion, is because the money flow index on the 4 hourly hit 98.5, which is quite high, and obviously the RSI was relatively high as well. So, normally when you get that sort of liquidity at these higher levels, it's appropriate to take that liquidity if you can. So a drop down on Bitcoin, even down to this level is nothing. Maybe back down to this level or even these levels wouldn't really be too much of a problem either. So let's just measure these out and see what we'd be looking at. So it's 3% to the 50, 6.5% down to the trend line, and to a maximum of 9% down to the golden cross, which is also this horizontal box of significance. So let's have a look at the daily to see what that looks like. So now we've got the 10 exponential sitting around just around 70,000 basically on the daily. That's appropriate. We've got the 20 and the 21 sitting at 68, which is also appropriate, and then you've got the 50, which is obviously quite low. But even if we did hit these areas, recognize that the Chiku span can afford to come down all the way down to 62,800 at the moment and still maintain this this trend signal that we're in. So that all of that can happen, and we'd still be in a significant uptrend on this one. Arguably, you want to see higher highs and higher lows, and so if you want to get a higher low, I'd be looking for us to close and bounce anywhere above this trend line. Probably the lowest I'd be looking for would be around $68,000. But just dipping our toes below $70,000 is also appropriate as well. So we're not overheated on the daily at all. Which means that we've got much further to run, in my opinion. Just looking at this chart, we've got the trend signals that we've established on the weekly and on the daily. We're above all moving averages. They're almost all in the absolutely correct place. So we're looking for this to continue to trend up. We've got golden crosses. Well, everything's looking good on this. The question is, today, tomorrow, for the rest of the week, into next week, before we start making another high, where's the low going to be? Where's the next low going to be? I'd make an educated guess that the lowest low is going to be around the $68,000 zone. But that doesn't mean you should hold out for that. But if we did come down to that level, that would be yeah, it would be a tasty position to take, you know, go long on that. So Bitcoin being dominant, Bitcoin is loving life, Bitcoin's the best thing anyone's ever seen ever, obviously. But altcoins, not quite so much. So we've got the dominance chart continuing to run up. My expectation is we're going to look something a little like this over the coming year. And the total 2 still getting that rejection from the top of the trend line, which is also that daily 200 simple moving average, which is where we got rejected. It's a death cross retest basically, but it doesn't matter if it's death cross retesting. You know, we should have always expected the rejection from there. Where are we going to bounce from here? Let's look at all these moving averages existing in more or less the same place. Around 930 billion, so if we just lose another 10 billion on this chart, probably looking for another bounce on that, and a move to the death cross, which probably at this point now I'd say was looking to break. We've had one retest, rejection, one retest, higher low, and next one should be the breakout. And we looked at the total 2 versus the total 1 yesterday. Total 1's already broken out because it's got Bitcoin on its side. Total 2 is mostly being held back by Ethereum. Total 3 was looking a lot better actually. So altcoins are still a really nice place to think about buying to hold for the next 12 months. Absolutely. In the short term, probably going to get a little bit of a red slap in the face to pull back. So you know, I'm looking really at Bitcoin to be the to set the example today. See if we can hold on 71 or basically 70, and those are the areas that I'm most interested in for any kind of position for anything, because as much as altcoins are lagging behind Bitcoin, which is, you know, that's kind of what we expected to see, doesn't mean that they're not going to bounce through association with Bitcoin's bounce. So those areas, you know, you trade altcoins as opposed through association with Bitcoin at the moment, and you're looking for a bounce here and here. And also, you know, recognize that Bitcoin is trading through association with the S&P, which is sort of moving down a little bit now, looking to see bounces, you know, in those areas that we established mostly on the weekly. I'll be looking for really 10 exponential, 21 and 20 down here. So, you know, it's still looking good, like very good indeed. But I know everybody's waiting to make themselves a millionaire in the next 15 minutes. It's not going to happen. But, you know, patience will be rewarded, and you know, as much as we have rallied up and we are looking bullish, it doesn't mean that we can't come down first to make another higher low before we move back up, which I think is the most appropriate way to expect this next move over the next day or two. Right, that is it. I'll leave it with you there. I am going to make some videos on altcoins. I'm going to do price predictions just to try and attract some more people to the channel. I know everybody does them, and they're not based around any kind of reality. Somebody will just say something ridiculous like, you know, I think Solana's going to hit $10,000. Click on this video, and that's all I want you to do. Click on it. Click on it. Just to listen to what I think is going to happen based around nothing. All right? Just based around nothing. So I'm going to have to compete with that sort of nonsense. Do you know what I mean? How can you? How can you compete with nonsense? You know, you have to trick people into into coming onto your video. It's the clickbait, and then I'll have to bombard them with reality. It's like, you wanted a ridiculous price prediction based upon nothing. Well, I can give you a price prediction, but it's a dose of reality. They'll be vomiting all over their portfolio. I don't like you. I don't like reality. I prefer dreams and hopium, so I can lose it all. All right, that's fine. You know, if I can steer people away from hopium and screw them into reality, they have a more chance of at least making some money out of this market. Right, thank you for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.